Hundreds of millions of years ago, the world was a very different place. Vast swamps stretched as far as the eye could see, crowded with ferns, giant club mosses, and towering horsetails. In the humid, oxygen-rich air, insects weren't small or fragile, they were enormous. Dragonflies with wingspans longer than your arm patrolled the skies, while millipedes the size of a grown man crept through the undergrowth. In this world, insects didn't just survive, they dominated. The secret behind their size wasn't luck. In fact, it was the air itself. During this time, oxygen levels in the atmosphere were far higher than today, sometimes reaching nearly 35%. For insects, which breathe through a system of tiny tubes called tracheae, more oxygen meant their bodies could get bigger and still function. The more oxygen their tissues absorbed, the more energy they had, and the larger they could grow. Among the giants of this era, meganeura was the undisputed queen of the skies. The giant dragonfly of the late Carboniferous is one of the largest insects to have ever lived. With wingspans reaching up to 70 centimeters, its size was made possible by the high oxygen levels at the time, which allowed the tracheal breathing system to supply enough oxygen to every tissue. Unlike modern dragonflies, which rely on active flight powered by efficient muscles and small body size, meganeura combined passive gliding with short bursts of wing flapping to patrol the swampy forests. Fossil evidence shows that its wing veins were heavily reinforced, allowing the large, membranous wings to withstand aerodynamic stress. Paleontologists also suggest that its enormous size made it a top aerial predator, capable of snatching smaller insects mid-flight with precision. Despite its intimidating size, it's likely avoided the denser forest floor, instead dominating the open skies. On the forest floor, Flora ruled. This massive millipede could grow up to 8 feet long, its segmented body carrying hundreds of legs. It moved slowly but with relentless persistence. For creatures of its size, the swampy terrain offered both a playground and protection from the predators that existed at that time. Then there was the Pulmonoscorpius, a giant scorpion that could grow nearly 2 feet long, longer than a modern cat. Its segmented tail arched high, tipped with a venomous stinger, and its massive claws could grasp and crush prey with frightening precision. Slow-moving but relentless, it prowled the swampy forest floor, hunting smaller insects and other invertebrates. The Carboniferous world was also home to enormous cockroaches, far larger than anything we see today. They could reach lengths of 9 to 10 centimeters, small by comparison to the larger insects we've discussed, but still massive for a cockroach, and orders of magnitude bigger than most modern insects. These cockroaches thrived in the swampy forest, feeding on decaying plant matter and acting as key decomposers in their ecosystems. And then we have giant mayflies. Some species had wingspans exceeding 25 centimeters, delicate yet vast, with intricate veining that caught the dim sunlight filtering through the swampy canopy. Their lives were fleeting as adults, often only a few days, but during that brief window, they played a crucial role in the ecosystem, serving as both pollinators and prey for the giant dragonflies above. In a world where oxygen was abundant and predators were massive, these oversized mayflies were fragile giants, a reminder that even the most delicate creatures could scale up to extraordinary sizes when the environment allowed. As the Carboniferous gave way to Permian, atmospheric oxygen levels began to drop. The very factor that allowed insects to grow to monstrous sizes was disappearing, and giantism became unsustainable. At the time, new predators began to evolve. Early reptiles, amphibians, and other arthropods were diversifying, introducing new threats to the skies, trees, and forest floors. What was once a nearly empty playground for enormous insects became a competitive and dangerous ecosystem. Predation pressure, combined with shrinking oxygen levels, forced these giants to adapt or vanish. Climate change also played a role. The vast swampy forest that had supported abundant plant growth began to dry out, fragmenting habitats and reducing the availability of food and shelter. These giant millipedes and massive dragonflies were highly dependent on stable, humid environments. As those wetlands receded, the giants could no longer sustain their enormous size. Over time, the evolution favored smaller, more agile insects that could survive in lower oxygen conditions and more variable climates. The giants shrank, leaving only fossils and traces of their reign. Today, insects are still incredibly diverse, But the monsters of that era exist only as a reminder of what's possible when the chemistry of the air aligns perfectly with life. So could the giants of the Carboniferous ever return? The short answer is almost certainly not. The monsters of the swampy skies and forest floors were made possible by a very specific combination. Modern Earth is a very different place now, with oxygen levels around 21%, far below the 30 to 35% that once fueled insect giganticism. Even if oxygen levels somehow rose dramatically, evolution is not a time machine. Modern insects are already highly specialized for their environments, and their body plans and ecosystems have been shaped for millions of years. Giant dragonflies or millipedes would face predators, competition, and climate conditions that their ancestors never encountered. That said, studying these ancient giants gives us a glimpse of what life is capable of under extraordinary conditions. They remind us that the size, shape, and diversity of life are not fixed. They are shaped by chemistry, climate, and countless ecological pressures. While we won't see an 8-foot millipede crawling through a modern forest, the legacy of those giants live on in every insect that survives, thrives, and adapts to the air we breathe today.